How are we all doing? Welcome back to the Let's Talk podcast, and today we're going to be continuing our series on depression, and in the episodes over the upcoming weeks we're going to be looking and discussing our counselling journeys and sort of discussing what we went through before, counselling during, and now our lives afterwards. And these first couple are going to be focused on Dan's journey. So to just get it going, what was your sort of first exposure to counselling and experience?
My first exposure to counselling was when obviously I was really down in myself, and the only counselling I thought that was available to me, just to general public, was through the NHS.
Yeah.
What we're so really lucky to have, here in the UK. So that was like my first thought. I give them a ring to meet up to go for a session. I went for a first session. It felt strange. I didn't really know what to expect, when you are going into these sessions, and we agreed that we'll do like weekly sessions. I'd go once a week, and then after like the first time, it come to the second week, and I got a phone call saying the session was cancelled, which at a time like that in my life, it was just a bit like, okay.
Yeah. Was that a bit disheartening for you? Because I imagine it took you, in a sense, a lot to build up to actually reaching out for help and looking for support. So when they cancelled, how did that sort of make you feel at that time?
It put a bit of doubt in my head, because I remember like building up to actually going in for that first session. I was sat in my car like outside the building. Like, do you know when you literally really have to like, right, am I going to go in now? And I was there for about 20 minutes trying to build up, to actually walking in the building.
Yeah.
So I think after like the first session, I felt really good, and then when like the second session got cancelled, it was a bit like, it took a bit. It brought a bit of doubt, if you know.
It took away a bit of the energy.
Yeah. And then the following week, again, it was cancelled again, where I was just a bit like, okay, is this how it's going to be? Like, is it going to be like I might not have weekly ones? It might be every 6 weeks.
Yeah. And did they give you reasons why it was being cancelled?
It was people just not being available.
Yeah.
The person I was seeing was not ill. I can't remember the exact reason, but it was something along those lines. And then the week after was when they cancelled again. And then I think at that point I was just a bit like, okay, well, there's just no point then.
It's not really getting anywhere here, and obviously, like you say, it took you a lot to get there. And that's not taking any credit away from the NHS, because they are incredible, and we understand they are understaffed, underfunded. And staff will be off sick and have annual leave, which is fine. But
yeah,
for you to get to that point, it took a lot. So then to be getting sort of like, I imagine like this cancellations, as you say, probably knocked you down quite a bit and disheartened you, and maybe it made you feel like, well, why? What's the point in trying? Because it's getting me nowhere, so to speak. And your depression wouldn't have wanted you to be getting help anyway. So I imagine your head was having a battle to even, like you say, get to those sessions.
Yeah, I think for me that was like a big moment where I was just like, okay, that was the only opportunity I knew that was available at that time.
Yeah.
So it was a bit like, well, this is going to be me now then.
So with that then, did you think or see it like, this is the only, like you say, option available, so if I don't do this, there's nothing else out there for me?
Yeah, exactly that. And I came, it was difficult to make that decision to just stop it.
Yeah.
But at that point, I was really fed up with, it's just not nice. And I understand it's not the NHS's fault. It's, it isn't at all, but it was just really disheartening. And I think me as a person, I couldn't have, because I did like think about them for the upcoming week and look forward to them in a sense, and I couldn't keep doing that to myself as well if they're going to get cancelled.
So to get like, to get disappointed in the end, building up to our weeks, like, oh, it's happening, it's like, oh, it's not, it's, oh, it's so when these cancellations happened and you within yourself said, I'm not doing this anymore, what then happened from that that point forward?
Yeah, so from that, obviously, I told like my family was aware of that I was going to this counselling anyway, and obviously I told them my experience with it, and it's just not going to work. And that's when like my dad was just like, he's going to have a look around at work to see if there's anything available, if there's any schemes, if there's anything else.
Yeah, if he's got support at work, maybe.
Yeah, exactly that. And I can't remember exactly how long it was from me not going to kind of the next thing that we're going to come on to. But my dad actually did find like a scheme at work that his company supports like his family during counselling. So my dad just come home with like a phone number, and he was just like, when you're ready, give them a ring. And I remember actually keeping hold of the actual number for quite a while, because it was just like, again, I had to build myself up to do that, especially after the first experience.
I was going to say, after that last time, you were probably in your head like, well, I don't want to go for it again, and the same happened, because like you say, that bad experience probably put you down a bit or made you a bit hesitant to trying it again.
Yeah, I know, and it did. I remember, I think I kept hold of it for like 2 or 3 weeks, because I was just like, but then I did, like, again, I hit probably a really down point, and it was just like, okay, I do need help.
Yeah.
And I did ring.
I think that shows that obviously, as much as you were disheartened maybe from last time, there was a part of you within there, somewhere within you. It was like, no, just because you never threw the number away, so it's like, no, just hold on. So it feels like a part of you knew, like, no, just hold on and just give it a couple of weeks or something maybe.
Yeah, exactly. And it was, and when I did ring them up, it was, again, I think I went into it this time though not really expecting anything.
Yeah.
Whereas with the first time, obviously through the NHS, I was expecting something because it was the first time.
Yeah.
So when I did, I spoke to a woman on the phone, and when we were on the phone, she was obviously just asking how I'm feeling, what I'm going through. And she agreed, let's do it. It's going to be through like my dad's company. So obviously I was like, okay, this is something different, new. Let's give it a go. So she was just like, okay, I'll be in touch with like details on when we're going to speak, etc. So I remember like when I put that phone down, I actually felt like after the first session in NHS, in a sense, like, okay, something's happening. So it was really good. And then after a few days, I remember I got contacted, and I actually had like my first session over Skype with her. And it was mainly with the counsellor, yeah. So the woman I'd be speaking to throughout the whole of my counselling journey. And we actually had the first session on Skype, but it was more of like an introductory, really. It was just, just telling her about general things and how I'm feeling.
So when you went into this first call, how was you feeling or thinking in yourself? Because I know in the past you told me that you never used to sort of think, or you couldn't see how speaking to someone could help you.
No, and I actually said that to the counsellor as well, like, because I remember she was asking me, how do you feel about doing counselling, like speaking to someone, you're going to be open, you're going to literally lay everything out on the table.
Yeah.
And I said to Bailey, I was just like, I'm happy to do that because I want to get help, but I don't see how speaking to someone is going to help. And how wrong was I? Like where I'm sat now. But no, I was really just like, I didn't understand it.
Yeah. So when you're having this first call, like you say, what was she sort of asking? Was she just trying to get an understanding of who you are as a person, what you're feeling, what your current situation is, and what you maybe see moving forward, or how you'd like to move forward with everything?
Yeah, it was really light touch. Really, it was just like, just general. She obviously told me a bit of background about her and what where she's at, and then she'd be asking about me, like work, just general family members.
Yeah, just like an introduction, like
like do I enjoy what I'm doing in job, just how I'm feeling on a daily basis. It was very, very light touch. What I would imagine it have been, the first session.
Anything on the first one, is it now?
No, I know. And something that actually came out of that first session was that she was just like, through like the counselling I'm going through here, it'd be really, really good if I had, well, she called it as like a go-to person.
Yeah.
So a go-to person is someone like who is just there for you, for support when you're going through your counselling. And I remember she made it very clear. She was just like, you need to choose someone obviously you can trust and you're close with, and you need to let them know what exactly that they're getting into, and it's fine if they don't want to do it.
Yeah, because I know, obviously, speaking from my experiences with the counselling, because you were my go-to person, but I know, like you say, you're literally telling them everything, like, and obviously, as we're going to get on to later, counselling can get very intense and obviously very emotional, and that go-to person is there to be your ear in a sense, or to help and support you, and they are one of the anchors or the rocks of your whole counselling journey, I believe.
No, I completely agree, and you yourself wasn't my go-to person, but I had another a good friend who was, and I remember when I was speaking to him about telling him, I'm going to do counselling, I'm starting counselling. He said, "Advise that I have a go-to person," and I made it very clear, like,
It's not going to be light
yeah,
in a
you're probably
sense.
going to get like a million messages off me a day if I'm had a. He was all cool with it. What was really nice.
Yeah,
And
that's amazing.
it was amazing. Like I couldn't have done it without that go-to person being there.
I feel they are a very crucial part, and obviously, the counsellor knows way more than we do, but that's obviously, I feel I understand why she recommends that because they are very important.
Yeah, and I think just as simple as like someone to just vent to.
Yeah, because I think when you get going into the counselling, she starts stirring things, doesn't she? And it does get very emotional, and you're only speaking to her for a period of time, in a sense, in the day, and then she goes because then she's got her other clients, or whatever. So, and you've got all this, she's just stirred and left in a sense, but in a controlled way. It's never
Of
too much,
course.
but you need someone to speak to, and I think that's why a go-to person is very, very important.
Yeah, and I feel it is true. Like, when they say like it's better to speak open about what's on your mind and things, and I think especially when I was going through counselling,
There's a lot on your mind.
there's a lot on your mind, a lot of questions. A lot like you kind of your head's changing.
Yeah,
And there's just so much, and I understand why now. She was just like, you need someone to speak about it
yeah,
with.
the support in that sense. So she explained the go-to person, and assuming she explained what the program would entail, like duration and how many sessions you'd be having and what these sessions would entail. So after that first phone call, did you get straight into the program then, or was there a period where she sort of left you to maybe think about, do you want to do this? Or
Yeah, so obviously we had that first introduction, and then she was just like, there was like an exercise at the start where it was more of like a question and answer, and it was on like an actual like document, like an email in a sense. So she'd literally ask a question, you'd write down the answer. She'll ask a question off the answer you gave, and it's just like she was really breaking down what you were responding really.
yeah,
And then as we were going through that document, I think 2 weeks after the first session, once we built up the document a bit, on the second session, it was going through that document, like on Skype, like, and she was asking, like, oh, why did you respond like this? Why did you say this?
yeah,
It was still quite light touch. It was just really digging into the answers I was giving, because
yeah,
I know at points, I probably wasn't being as honest as I should have been on
yeah.
the document, and I found it very difficult to be open and honest to just someone, I'd say a randomer.
It's a stranger, isn't she? Though you don't really know, and it is difficult to open up about things, especially. I'm assuming at points very personal things, because your depression is a very sensitive and personal thing, and as you say, to open up to this random person who you've briefly met, it's not an easy thing, and and I think obviously they know that it takes time, and obviously they need to build up your trust, and like you say, you will be hesitant, or maybe not tell the truth at the beginning, but they obviously know that. And I think as well, do you think with these, when this document you was filling out, as innocent or as whatever you may want to call it, you was answering these questions, or you thought you were just answering them, to her that probably said more than you realised?
100%. Like, now I think back a bit, I do believe she, I could imagine her just like printing them out, and she would analyse every single word I typed, and she would question absolutely everything. And she did. She broke the answers down, and it was strange. I remember at some point she's just like, why did you respond like this? Because I know this is not how you're actually feeling, and it's at some point I did put an answer where I was just like, oh, she don't really need to know that, she shouldn't know, she shouldn't need to know that. And then she'd always manage to just get to the bottom of it, and she'd just be like, so do you want to answer it again? Like,
I imagine it's because in a sense they are like masters of analysing you, and you obviously just respond how you feel is natural or right to yourself, but to them it's like they can read between lines, or it's like you may word something differently in one question that he did in another, and it's like, that's how I know he's not being honest, because if he was being honest, or he's not being fully open because he's not worded it. And that was my opinion, is like the slightest thing can actually tell her a lot.
No, it's very true, and especially like when being on Skype with her, we're obviously speaking on camera, and I'm sure I have tells, and she knows like I'm not great at lying anyway. Like, so it's probably so obvious whenever I try to lie, and yeah, there was just no getting away with it.
Yeah, and then so when you was getting into these sessions, what was did the intensity vary? And obviously the deeper you started getting into the program, did she start obviously like digging in more and becoming more active in a sense?
Yeah. So I'd say for probably about the first 3 weeks to a month of the actual program was focusing on this document really, and I remember it made me laugh like because it's like if you look at the the first version of it, there's just like a question, like question one, my answer, and then if you look like 3 weeks later, from that one question, there was like 15 more questions.
It's like 1A, 1B, 1C.
It's like broke it down,
from that, yeah.
really broke it down, and I was just like, bloody hell, like what the hell?
And I think that was obviously her breaking you down, and
Yeah.
you may not have understood or why she's asking a question on this certain area, or she's not picked up on other things, but she picked up on this. But again, she's the master of her craft, isn't she? She knows what she's doing.
Yes, and then as we was like, so about 3 to 4 weeks into going through this document, she then said, right, we're going to actually start, just talking. We're going to leave the document. We're just going to literally just really just talk to each other.
Yeah.
We're just going to start not referring to the document because that's what we were doing, and that's when she was just like, we're going to start having now around like 2, 3, or 4 sessions a week, whatever can fit in my schedule, but she was just like, at least 2.
Yeah.
And it sounds like if it's 2 or 3 sessions a week, you're talking like 45 minutes, an hour a session.
Yeah.
And it was difficult to try and accommodate that.
I was gonna say, how did that fit around your life? Because obviously you're still working, you still got your own life to live. How did you find accommodating that?
It like now I look back, I did really must have really wanted to get help because. As much as I knew I was moaning about it, like, like, where am I going to find time to do this? Like, I'm so busy as it like working,
Yeah.
So, sometimes I literally would get up before work at like 5:30 and have an hour with her. I'd do it on my lunch breaks at work. I'd go for a walk, like outside the building and talk to her for an hour.
Yeah.
After work, late at night, like, if I had plans? Because obviously she's not there to stop me from doing anything.
Yeah.
She's trying to fit in what's best for me.
Yeah.
So it was literally like I could get in from going out for a meal with friends at like 9:30, 10 o'clock. Then I'd sit down with an hour to do it. Like it was really like difficult to actually try and schedule everything.
Yeah, I imagine. And I think when you truly want something, or when you're truly driven something, you find a way to do it. And I think also as well, as much as she's there to help you, at the end of the day, it's on you.
100% it is.
It's incredible what she's done for us, and the things she does, as a counsellor, for other people and everyone. But it's not on her in a sense. It's on you. If you don't turn up to that session, it's you, and that's on you in a sense.
No, exactly. And I remember, like at one point during like our counselling, she did sit me down. She just like, right, we're gonna go. It's gonna get quite intense at the moment.
Yeah.
And we did like a counselling session every day for 2 weeks.
Yeah, so quite an intense period.
Yeah, so she was like, we'll book it in, every morning at 5 o'clock, whatever. It did vary depending on, what I was doing. But God, that was intense, like very intense.
Do you think that was sort of like the PK of the program? Like, because I imagine the way I look at it is from when you answered these questions early on in the program for the first month, she built her she built your counselling program off of that, and broke down each sort of however long it was going to take you to do it, and then she's planned out from that. So in this period we'll do this and this, and so when you got to this intense point, it's like that was probably part of her plan.
Yeah, definitely.
When you were ready for it as well.
Yeah, and it was really difficult because, like, even when we were doing the sessions, like 2 times a week, 3 times a week, I had time until the next one.
So you had time to digest and absorb what's just happened in that session.
Yeah, to really like think about it, to speak to it about my go-to person, to literally like digest it
and self-reflect and so on.
Yeah, but then when it came to doing the 2 week intense period, it was really, I found it difficult and frustrating at points because I felt like I didn't really have enough time to think on it.
Did you feel like she was just coming at you all the time in a sense?
No, and it was very like when we were like even in the ordinary sessions. Really, it was because I was speaking to her over Skype. It was just like question,
Yeah.
and obviously you're thinking, you're being open, you're being honest. And I remember after some of the sessions, I was literally just like, I need a minute.
Yeah, your head's like, geez.
Yeah, like, do you know when you're just mentally drained and you're just like, and then I'm thinking about what I was saying. I was just like, I don't really know what I was saying because there was so much being said.
but that's the thing, it was not as, as intense and difficult as it is. And, again, it is, of course, it's going to be difficult. It's a very emotional period. But I think one of the things that I always comforted me was knowing that she knows best and she's only there to help you. She's never going to do anything negative or that will not benefit you in any way whatsoever. So even when, you're having these intense sessions or, she's asking difficult questions, you've got to try and look past that and think of the bigger picture. Like, it's for the best, and she knows what she's doing. It's like, she breaks you down, but she does it in a controlled manner where she knows you'll be okay. You may get upset or it's difficult, but she knows you'll be okay. She'll never push you too far.
Yeah, and I remember times, like, throughout the counselling, of course she pushed my buttons. She say some honest truths that you probably can't really, you've never really accepted in yourself and things like that. And, I remember on certain occasions I did shout at her and called her a nasty name. But, that's what she wanted to do. That's what, that was a goal. She's always 10 steps ahead.
Yeah.
She knew what she was doing.
Yeah, I remember you saying to me that she, later on said, she did it, as you say, on purpose because in ways, I mean, I don't really understand how, but she said, I learn more about you in those moments than I do, in the calmer ones, in a sense, because I guess when she pushes your buttons, you give a reaction, that's showing some like
There's
emotions.
more emotions involved, isn't
there? It probably says more than, well, we ever realise in a way.
No, I know, and that was, I remember obviously when I did like shout at her, I was just like, oh God.
Because that's not you at all, is it? As a person, like,
no.
you don't shout at people or call names or anything.
But how I think about it, as intense and as, like, difficult at the time it was, I did find myself always making time to go.
Exactly. Yeah.
I knew, like at the moment, it's weird because at the moment I didn't really, because it was busy, life was busy. Like, I was working, seeing friends, doing counselling. It's like I didn't really have time to myself in that aspect.
Yeah.
And like now when I think back, I do think at the time, as much as intense at times, I shouted at her, it was difficult, I'd go off a call and just be like, oh, this is really difficult. But I always was just like, when's the next session?
Yeah.
Because I knew it was doing so. I must have knew it was doing
saying
something
within you, because you could have easily been like, you come away from difficult, oh, I don't want to do this anymore, I'm not ringing her back, but you still turn up every day.
And I would accommodate for her rather than she accommodating for me, because I was just like, let's do it.
It shows, again, the part is like, this is helping me in some way. So with this, was it, when you're deep into the program and you're having these chats, was it just talking, or did she also advise you do things outside of the sessions? Did she give you like actions to do or things to try and do?
Yeah, I know. We've talked about this as well. So she would kind of, I'm sure they're personal to everyone she treats, etc.
Yeah.
But she gave like weekly actions, and she'd say like, do this at least like 3 times a week, 4 times a week. And like an example, I can remember, I know when we were actually trying to write down my counselling journey, it's difficult to remember everything, isn't it? Because it was quite a while ago now. But one of the things like I really remember that she was driving into me was that as soon as I have like a negative thought, what was a lot, like, when I was going through depression, when I was depressed, is that straight away to think something positive, or write something positive down, straight away after it, do it. Yeah. And she was just like, and then I remember when it first started, it was just like, do this like 5 times a week. And then it was just like, do this 10 times a week. Yeah. Because I was having a lot of negative thoughts.
Oh yeah, because obviously she's especially as the program gets intense, she's stirring a lot in your mind, isn't she? And your depression's fighting back because it doesn't want that, in a sense.
Exactly, yeah. So at first it was weird because you never really think to do that.
Yeah.
So,
and it probably took a lot of strength to do that, because again, I think your depression's trying to be like, no, don't do that. So, and to even reach out for help in general to begin with takes an incredible amount of strength.
God.
which, you know, so it is a true credit to yourself that you even started this counselling journey, but then to, you know, fight back against your depression outside of the sessions is incredible strength as well.
Yeah, yeah, and like now I think about it, is that because, you know, these weekly actions came probably like quite deep into the like, you know, the counselling journey, the program in a sense, and I feel like at this point when she was assigning me these actions, is I was already committed.
Yeah.
Like, do you know, like this was after the points where I was just like, right, I'm showing up, and, you know, I'll do anything. Like, I want to get better. So like when she did say, right, I'm going to give you actions, you need to, you know, every time you think negative, write something positive down, think something positive. It's like I would do it because I'm committed. And it was difficult. It was hard because like at a time like that, it seems daft, but it was difficult to think of something positive. But it could be so little. Like, I remember at times it was just like looking pictures at like Daisy, you know, the dog I had at the time, like looking at pictures of family, of friends, and or memory videos,
happy memories or anything like that. And
anything.
I think as an example on that action, why do you think she may have advised that? Do you think that was to sort of train your mind in a sense that anytime a negativity comes in, replace it with a positive? Or
yeah, that's literally what she was going to say. That's what she showed. Just like she said, how did she word? She was like, what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to rewire your thought process.
Oh yeah, okay.
So do you know, it's a sense of, because how she worded it was just like, when you think of a negative, you're building on the negative. You're thinking something more negative. That's why I used to overthink and spiral. And she was just like, so over the, you know, the course of the counselling, probably everything taken into consideration, she was making it so as I was thought a negative, I'd think of a positive.
Yeah.
And as much as you're thinking, okay, I've done it 10 times this week, I can stop now. But then, you know, after a while, that's when you start seeing the different changes, what we are going to go into in the next episode.
Yeah, definitely. And so I think that's a nice spot to bring this one to an end at the minute.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. So yeah, thank you very much, guys, for listening to this episode. If you could give it a like and a share, that would mean so much to us. Please don't forget to subscribe and hit that notifications button to keep up to date with any of our future episodes that we release. If you have any comments or thoughts about this episode, just drop them below or on any of our social media.
Yeah, and we're available on all social media platforms under the username @LT Podcast Online. We're also available on our podcast directories such as Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, as well as YouTube. If you check out our description below, it's got all our links and further information in there. And as Dan said, in the next episode, we're going to be discussing more about his counselling journey and when he started to notice differences and what that was like for him, and then what it was sort of like after counselling. And so, as always, guys, thank you very much for listening. We hope to catch you in the next episode, and take it easy.
Yeah, take it easy, guys. Peace.